Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Gaming It Out. Today we're going to take a look at a Buildshare mod. This mod does a lot of things, it is a lot of fun, and if you're someone who's enjoying playing around in more of a creative setting, this is going to be maybe your favorite mod. You can form terrain and flatten big chunks of land at a time and clear big chunks of land. You can select and save your own builds and move them. You can import other people's builds into the world. There's tons of things to do. So before we get into the mod showcase, you'll notice that my screen may look different than yours. If that's the case, it's because I already have Nslim and Beppin EX installed, which are mod loaders. In the top left of this video, I'm going to card to a video where I'll walk you through step by step and let you see everything that we do to get these two mod loaders installed because you will need Nslim. This is an Nslim mod. So if you need to, bring that video up, tab it up so that you've got it for later. You can either go watch it now or after this video, you can go check it out, get them installed, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to install the Buildshare mod into the Nslim mod loader. So let's go ahead and jump into our world, and we'll peek around, we'll play around a little bit with the Buildshare mod itself. I'll just show you some of what it's capable of, show you how to select and save builds, and some of the different features that come along with that. It's really fantastic. I'm really enjoying it, and they seem to be working really hard on bringing updates to it and fixing any little issues that there have been with it. So what I'll also do is I'm going to take the build that I'm going to show you that we use for an example. I'm going to try to make that available to you guys. I'm going to upload it to Nexus Mods or somewhere and hopefully make it available to you. So let's go ahead and get ourselves saved and get debug mode going. Sometimes it leaves debug mode on and sometimes it does not. There we go. Now we're good. Okay, so you can see I was in here playing around with it just in preparation for this video, and this is one of the big appeals to this mod to me is the ability to flatten land, because I have done a few builds, and it is not uncommon for me to have spent 4 or 5 hours chopping down trees, chopping stumps out, breaking rocks, flattening land, getting the land flat actually the way that I wanted it to be flat, you know, not lumpy halfway around. So this is a really great way to do it. You can see here, I think we've hit a spot where we can't affect the ground anymore. If I come in here and chop it, nothing changes. So I think you're going to encounter that occasionally on the map, but overall, it's been fairly successful. You can see here we've got Black Forest biome. What I did was I came in here and I cleared out all the trees in the Black Forest, and I'll show you how I did that in here. We just come in here into the Black Forest. You see over here we've got our little Buildshare menu, right? So if it clicks it and it opens up and covers your button, you can grab here and drag it around. I just like to pull it down just a little bit so that I can close it when I'm ready. And let's go with Terrain Master. That's the first thing we're going to look at today. We got a few things available here. We've got Terrain Master, length X, length Y. This is your flatten. This is what you're going to use to flatten. The other two are remove land and remove flora. Remove flora is obviously trees and things of that nature. So if we do a really small little radius here and remove flora, nothing happens because I'm not close enough to anything. Maybe now. Yeah, see, so we delete a few trees like that. If I really want to clear an area, drag it full, remove flora, and now you see we've it doesn't look like Black Forest anymore, right? Now there's just a troll standing in the middle of a field like a big blue idiot. So let's come over here. Let's clear these guys out a little bit and play around now with the terrain management. So the smaller of a chunk that you do, the quicker it's going to be, the less of a chug it's going to be on your system. So 5x5 is fairly straightforward. It's going to happen fairly quickly, right? You're not going to get much lag at all from doing that. Whereas if I wanted to do, let's say, 20x20 and go flatten, there's going to be a moment where the game has to catch up because it's really doing a lot, right? In some cases it's pulling ground down, in other cases it's pulling ground up. But now we've got a 20x20 block that's pretty clear, and then some of it you have to clear. I wonder if the clear terrain would... No, so I guess that just works for big trees. I thought there was a way to do rocks as well. Let's see what happens when we do remove land. So remove land seems almost to be kind of like an undo. Now, I don't think exactly an undo, but like land that you've cleared out and flattened, it's a good way to maybe undo it in chunks. If you've done a couple of other things since then and the undo button isn't doing it for you, I think remove land is remove what you've done as far as terrain flattening or rising to the land. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. And again, it's really nice. Over here, I used as an example of how you can bring terrain up to your level. It shoots off from your right shoulder. So straight forward from your right shoulder and straight to the right from your right shoulder. Every now and then, it'll hit you behind a little bit. But for the most part, that's kind of your anchor point. So if we flatten here, it's going to bring up the ground the best it can anyway. Again, sometimes you'll hit spots on the map where you have a little bit of trouble getting the ground to come up or go down. But see, like right here. So if I get up my hoe, for whatever reason, I can't bring this up anymore, right? I don't know why. I don't know why some spots on the map are like that. So you may have to play around with it. But, I mean, if you look at how much land we've got right here that's flattened, we'll hit another 20 by 20. I personally don't ever go more than 20 by 20. I did do 30 by 30 once, and it took long enough that I had decided my game had crashed. I don't know if it would have sorted it out and done 30 by 30, but 20 by 20 is generally plenty for me. And now, you know, you can clear out a little bit of this debris here if you wanted to, but now you've got a flat spot to start building on, and it's great, man. I love it. I love it. And if you wanted to do, you know, let's say, let's come right here, actually. Let's get a little bit lower. Okay, you know what? I'm going to need you to get off me, dog. I'm busy. I'm trying to do something. We'll dig down a little bit here. And I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't remember which is X and Y. But let's test this out a little bit. If we go Terrain Master, and we go 20 on X and 0 on Y, let's see if that just shoots straight out in front of us. Or to the side of us. Come on, you can do it. All right, that's an interesting. That's interesting. I would have thought. Well, let's see what happens if we do. Let's stand up here and see what happens if we do 20 on Y. See what we end up with here. Seems like it takes longer. So it doesn't seem to matter with the length and the length X, length Y. Unless, because I'm putting 0, it's not doing anything. So what if we go like this? Oh my god. We'll come up here, again, just to change the level a little bit. Now we'll flatten and see what we get. There we go. Okay, so yeah, if it's 0, if there's any zeros in the mix, it's still going to do whatever number you select. That's worth knowing. That's interesting. That means if you're just trying to do a square, you don't have to bother with length Y. Just type whatever number you want, and you're good to go. Okay, so X is straight out in front of you, Y is to the right. So then what I was initially wanting to play around with was if we have our base like this, like say you had your base elevated and you wanted a moat, you could come out here, dig it down just a little bit, and then we'll go length 20, length Y 1, flat. Now it should shoot it straight out in front of us. Yeah, there you go. So easy way to build a moat. Run around your base, do that, and you can touch it up as you want. And it's a great tool. If only for this reason, this is a fantastic mod. This is amazing to be able to come in and do. It could make building projects on the mountains so much easier. There's just opens up the game in so many different ways. So now let's head over and check out the base that I've been working on over here that I think is pretty cool. And it's going to take a second to load in. That's one of the things about flying around the map is you got to give the map a little while to catch up. But I thought it might be kind of fun to build a little pyramid base of sorts. I left my door open, I guess. Close that door. So I liked the idea of the pyramid kind of starting on land with the initial entry to it and then being out over the water. I just thought that was kind of cool. So it started with this, and then it became adding the boathouse, and it became adding a bunch of stuff inside. We've got our wood storage out here with our cart that you are clear to get out with. So, you know, this would attach to more land. This is just kind of the standalone base in itself. And we've got, if we want to take a look on the inside, we've got our cooking area with our cauldron. We've got our bedroom area with our dragon scale shield that is in the item list, but I don't know that it's actually in the game yet. You've got your Jacko turnip, because you got to have a Jacko turnip. Built a little frame around the bed. I don't know, a little personal chest. I thought it was a cool little personal space. Tried to doctor things up a little bit, just make it nice. We got the old Christmas tree over here next to the kiln. Storage area, little mini storage area, and our workbench, forge, all of those things. Kind of a nice little mid-game base, I think. I think it's kind of cool. I enjoy it. I left some of the space open so that if anybody wanted to take this base and put it in their world, there was a little room to play around with. You come out here into your boathouse. You've got, you're not going to get stuck under it or anything. We've walled it all off. And yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of fun doing this one. I was working on one big build project. And you know, sometimes you're working on a big build and you just need a break. You need to build something else. Sometimes I thought, you know what, I'm going to start playing around with a pyramid base and see what I come up with. So we covered up the top of the smelter that sticks up to the roof here. Here we've got our chimney, which seems to be working very effectively. And then under, we've got just a bunch of iron beams. And I just went ahead and did the whole foundation with iron beams just so there would be no issues with any parts being weak. Anything that I wanted to connect to, I wanted to be strong. Doing it like that also allows you to drop stone floors in. You know, you make a square with the iron beams and drop a stone floor in. It is very secure. You don't have to worry about anything. I've brought all the land up under it so that it should be pretty stable. And that's it. So now let's talk about other things that you can do with this mod, because this is where it starts to get pretty insane. Okay, so if you're in a situation where you want to save a build, you can come in here. First, I would recommend going to toggle radius and having it turn that on. Now you can see what's being selected. It'll be highlighted blue. So if we go 100, I guess you got to toggle it back off and on. Yeah, if we go 100, now we can fly around and make sure everything. We want to make sure foundation, everything is getting selected. Everything outside. Make sure we're getting our whole base. Right? That's because that's going to be pretty important. Now that everything is selected, you can come back down. You still want to be in the original spot because that's going to be your save point. So now you go to save. We're leaving the radius on 100. Save point is set to current. So you'll hit current to give it your coordinates on where you are. Radius is on 100 because we know that's the radius that's going to select everything that we've built. We can name it pyramid. Pyramid on H2O is what we're calling it. And we want to make sure save terrain. In this case, we want to make sure save terrain is ticked because, again, there's a lot of terrain work done underneath it to make sure that it holds up. And that can be tricky with something especially like this. When you put this out and there's no ground holding it up, you can have a bunch of stuff start to fall off. So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit save. And now that should be in our build list. So if we come over here to our build list, you'll see now we've got pyramid base on water, which is what I was doing when I was testing it out earlier. And then pyramid on H2O. We just did this one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go test it and see if it works once it stops raining. All right, the weather's cleared up. We're going to move over. Also, it's important to remember which way it was facing. So if we're looking straight south into the water right now, that's a pretty important part. I think there's a way to rotate it a little bit, but I don't think you, at least as of now, I don't believe you have full 360 control over anything like that. So Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna put a few pieces of this mod together actually and make it work. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna clear the flora around us. We want all the rocks and trees gone. So now we've got flat land to work with. Now what I want to do is I want to come down here, maybe like right here. First I want to kill all these guys. And I want to flatten a 20 by 20 in this direction. Again, the bigger chunks can take a second. And then I want to come maybe like here. I don't want it to go too deep out in the water, but I want it to be out in the water just a little bit. Just so that the terrain has a little bit to work with when the time comes. So let's do one more 20 by 20 in this direction. Kind of get everything prepped for this base we're dropping. That works. Now that gives us some room. A little bit of water coming up, but that's not a huge deal because everything's pretty elevated. So I would say maybe right here. We'll test it and see how it goes. We go to Build. We select our pyramid on H2O. And if you want to get an idea of what it's going to look like, you can do like this. Usually Toggle will show a bit of the build. It's not happening for me here. But instead, let's just hit Build. I figured I would just leave this part in just so you could see what the solution ends up being. We do figure it out, but I wanted to go ahead and just point it out specifically here. Notice how in X offset, at some point I deleted the 0 that was in that box. I'm guessing those boxes can't be empty. So just put zeros in there if you're not wanting to doctor the numbers. If it's blank, it's not going to work. So you'll see when I do figure it out and get a 0 in there, it will work. But I wanted to clearly explain that here. Is it because there was not a number in there at all? Is that really the case? I guess it was really the case. There you go. Problem solving in the midst of a video. And again, this one's going to take a little bit. It's building a base. It's populating with all the pieces of a base. And in this case, doing a lot of terrain work. If there's not a lot of terrain work to do, this hasn't taken as long in my experience. But with there being terrain work to do, it does take a few. So don't think your computer's locking up on you or anything like that. It takes a bit to do when there's a bunch of terrain also coming along for the ride. But any second now, it should be popping up. I don't know what's going on with the pre-build thing. The pre-build thing, you could bring up the display and hit toggle, and it would put a lit up green version of the base there, and you could see kind of where it was going to set, how it was going to interact with the land around it, and if you liked it at that angle or if you wanted to try to move it and play around with some of that. I don't know why that's not working here. It's very possible that I'm just doing something wrong. So if anyone knows more about that, more information in the comments would be great. And if you can drop all that for me, I will pin the comment so that everyone can see it and not have this issue. But there it is. Now we've dropped this base down. Obviously, if you wanted to do a little bit of terrain work around here, you could drop this down so that it's just water around it. You could raise this up. You have all of the terrain tools at your disposal that you need. But if we look around, we've got all of our iron beams down there, still secured in the ground, still touching everything. We've got our boathouse out here. Again, still looking like it's in pretty good shape. Still touching everything. We don't hear anything breaking. We don't hear anything falling apart. And everything should be good to go on the inside as well. Let's pop out. I might have said outside. I meant inside. Yep, everything is here. So there you go. That's how you would do it once you have the file at your disposal. So the next things we're going to talk about is 1, how to install this mod, and then 2, how to get these files into the appropriate folder so that you have access to them on your build list. So let's hop over and take a look at that. Okay, so as I said earlier, if you don't have NSlim and or BepInEx installed, I carded to a video at the beginning of this video on how to get those installed. Those are your mod loaders so that you can use a lot of different mods. BepInEx is necessary for a ton of mods, and NSlim also has a bunch of mods it's required for as well. And you can actually use them together. I cover that in my video. So if you didn't watch that, be sure and go back and watch that if you're not familiar with how to do that. Now we're going to look at getting the actual Buildshare mod into the right folder. This is an NSlim mod, okay? So click the link below that brings you here, the Buildshare Advanced Building Valheim mod. We're going to go over into Files. You're going to click Manual Download. It's going to tell you that you want to have NSlim already downloaded and installed. That is what we cover in the other video. So we're just going to go ahead and click Download because we know we have that set up. And there we go. Download has started. And what I want you to do is take it and drag it over. You can drag it over to your desktop. Yesterday in the video where I covered how to install the mod loaders, I had you make a Valheim mods download folder of sorts. You can also drag it in here if you wanted to. Again, somewhere to keep it organized. Not super important, just know where it is and know where it's going. I like putting it in a folder because it's easier to hunt down when I need to. So here's our Buildshare. Now you're just going to right click, extract all, let it do whatever it wants to do by default. Basically all it's going to do is unzip that folder and give you access to everything that was in it zipped up, which is this .dll file, right? Nothing too crazy going on there. Next, I want you to go to Steam. I want you to go into your library. Also, Loop Hero. I did a video on this game the other day. If you're interested for just kind of a chill let's play on a really cool, unique little game, I will card to that now as well. Loop Hero was such a fun game to play. I definitely plan on doing more of that on the channel. But down in your library in Valheim, right-click, Manage, Browse Local Files. This is going to bring up your Valheim directory, okay? And if you haven't installed BepInEx and NSlim, your directory is going to look a little bit different. But if you have followed that video that I alluded to at the beginning of this video, it should look very similar to this. And this is an NSlim mod. So we're going to open up our NSlim VML folder. In here, there are two things, mods and README. We're going to open up mods. You're going to grab your CR Buildshare vml.dll file, the only file that was in that new Buildshare folder. You're going to click it and drag it over, okay? And mine's already in there. I'll just do it over the top of it. It's not going to ask you if you want to replace anything, but it doesn't matter. You can just replace over the top of it. And now it's in there. So now when everything runs and checks, you're going to have that Buildshare option available to you in game. Now, when you're in there, remember earlier when we hit builds, it brought us to a website where people had uploaded builds they had done. And here's a good look at some of them. I'm going to also work on getting mine up here as well, and I'll get a link to that in the description of this video for anybody that's interested in having that base so that it's uploaded here and ready to go as well. But this is it. This is a bunch of builds that other people in the community have made and have made available to other players. So what I'm going to do for this video is we're going to do this together. I actually have not downloaded one of these from Nexus Mods yet, so we're going to do this together. I'm going to download a new build, we're going to load back into my world, and I'm going to place it and make sure that it all works and try to make sure that we make it pretty clear on how we made it happen. So let's do it with this one, this Woodman's Lodge here. Woodman's Lodge, I think we do want to make sure when we're checking the file, somewhere I would like it to say vbuild, but I reckon we're just going to assume that that is a given. We're just going to assume that's a given. If it's a build someone's uploaded, that's what we're going to shoot for. So again, we're going to manual download. I do have advanced building. I do have NSlim. I'm going to download it. You should also have all of those things as well after following along in this video and the previous video. Here we are. It's put us into a zipped folder, so I'm going to open up that Valheim's mod folder. I'm going to drag it over. Right? So now it's in a spot where I know where it is. Right click, extract all, let it do what it's going to do. Now when I open this up, it should just be woodman.vbuild, okay? Where you're going to find this is back in your Valheim directory, which we'll just start over from scratch there. If you remember, you right-clicked, manage, browse local files. This is your Valheim directory. One of the things you'll notice that you have in here is Buildshare. That's what this mod is, okay? So we're gonna go build share. We're gonna go builds. We've seen the 2 builds that I have on my own. I'm going to take this woodman.vbuild and drag it over here. Now what's in that folder? Now I should have access to it. If we've done everything right, we should have access to it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna load Valheim back up. We're gonna jump into my building world. I'm gonna find a little spot of land with nothing on it, and we're gonna see if we can't drop this woodman build into our world. And if it works, then everybody should be good to go. And that could be a blast. That could be a blast, because there's a lot of really, really amazing builders that play this game, that play all these games. These games are always... There's never a shortage of amazing people. I'm proud of some of the things I do, but it's so... it's so mundane, you know, to me anyway. When I'll start looking at other people's builds. I built a cool pyramid with a boathouse. Yeah, that's great. People are going to have the whole world of Lord of the Rings done within 6 months, I'm sure. It's just wild what people can do. People never cease to amaze me. The tricks they figure out with building to make certain things look a certain way. And all right, so let's go. I'm a cheater because I can't tell you how many times I die from fall damage flying around. And debug mode should still be on. See, it says it's not, but I... All right, it's on. Let's see. All right, so let's come right out here. I will flatten. Oh, I don't know. Let's just do a 20 by 20. 20 by 20. Flatten. And I'm going to remove flora from around me. And I guess I'm going to kill all. I'll stand here right at the front center, because I assume that's going to be a pretty good place to stand. Now we go to build list, and you'll see we've got woodman.vbuild right here. So I'm going to go to build name. I'm going to change it. I'm going to make sure I do have all zeros or all numbers of some sort in here. I still want to see if this will work. Hey, it did work. Did work that time. So here's a toggle. This way we get to see where it's going to place it. And this was interesting to know because it placed it behind me instead of in front of me. So that's going to float it. Okay, so I need a bigger chunk of land. So I'm going to come here. And I'm going to flatten another 20 by 20. That's a big old build, man. I didn't know it was that big. I'm excited to explore that. Okay, so now we'll come over here. Can you not flatten it any more than that? I don't think I believe you. I don't think I believe you that you can't flatten it any more than that. Hey, little dude, I'm so busy right now. I'm so busy. Could you just not? Could you just not? You know what I mean? It's like I do have a lot of things to do. You're bothering me. All right. So if it's going to put it behind me, I'm going to get right here, and I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to build it. Build, Woodman build, everything's good, build. And we're going to hope that things don't start falling apart. Just going to do that just to protect the edge a little bit. But there you go. We could flatten terrain. Look at this build, man. All right, let's run in here and check it out. Again, you could spend much more time doctoring up the area of how you wanted this thing to look. But it's pretty amazing that you could just drop this into your world and be good to roll. That's a pretty cool setup. Couple of things you'd have to replace in here, it looks like. But I mean, that's the nature of it. You're dropping a giant build in your world. Got a little area for a bed here. Another little area for a bed. Yeah, I dig that. Pretty cool. Very creative with the way they set everything up in here. And that's it. That's how you play around with the Buildshare mod. Play around with the terrain. Make your own builds, save your own builds, export your own builds, bring new people's builds into your world, and figure out, you know, where you want to place them. That's it. It's a lot to take in, but I figured I would like to get it all in one video. I didn't want to spread this out over a bunch of different videos and have you guys hunting down all the information. Stop running in place. So a little bit of a longer video, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it and it helped you. And I'm really excited for you to put this to use. I'm going to try to get my pyramid build up on Nexus Mods for anybody that wants it. As soon as I do, I'll make sure I get a link down below, and as well as a link to the library that's up on Nexus Mods of builds that other people have made for anybody that wants to check that out. But again, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. I will do my best to help you. If you have any information that you think would be helpful for people in the comments, drop it below for sure. I also always appreciate that. Other than that, that's it. I appreciate you guys watching. Like and subscribe if you feel so compelled, and we'll see you in the next one.